Jurors in San Francisco on Monday are set to resume deliberations on the alleged killer of Kate Steinle, a 5 times deported illegal immigrant from Mexico who prosecutors say gunned down 32-year-old Kate on a San Francisco pier in July of 2015. The shooting sparked a national debate about San Francisco and other liberal big city sanctuary policies of refusing to cooperate with the federal government on immigration matters. One person who doesn't seem to have a problem with sanctuary cities is far-left San Francisco federal judge William Orrick. Earlier this week, he issued a permanent block on President Trump's executive order that seeks to withdraw some federal funding to sanctuary cities. Former Republican Congressman and Fox News contributor Jason Chaffetz had some wise words on how to respond to the judge's ruling.
There's a way to actually solve this problem, because if he's saying that Congress is not giving the president the proper authorization, guess what? The reauthorization for all the funding of the federal government moving forward has to happen by December 8th. 1 or 2 sentences placed into that funding bill, which will pass, will solve this problem, give the president the authority.
Joining us now for reaction in Fort Worth, Texas, is immigration attorney Francisco Hernandez. And in Chicago, Fox News contributor Steve Cortez. I am good, Francisco. So let me start with you. In Alabama, Judge Moore, when he was not cooperating with the federal government with regards to enforcing gay marriage law, he got shut down immediately. So why is it okay for San Francisco officials to not cooperate with federal immigration law?
Well, it's a completely different subject. In San Francisco, you're dealing with a money issue. Who's going to pay for people that are going to be incarcerated to honor the federal ICE holds?
But it's a financial issue as well in terms of marriage, too. You get paid for marriage licensing, and that was what the whole beef was.
No, that had to do with the Equal Protection Clause of the United States Constitution.
Right, but there's still a financial component, I'm saying.
Tell me what the financial component of that is.
Yeah, when you go to the courthouse, you have to pay marriage licensing fees. And when you form a union, you know, you're taxed as a couple. You file jointly, that kind of thing.
Well, but no. It's a $25 filing fee for a marriage certificate. Really, that's a completely different issue.
All right, Francisco, let me give you another analogy. Hold on. So what about a gun shop in Texas? And someone comes in to buy a gun and they don't feel like delivering the guy's name to the federal background database. They don't believe in it, and they're going to resist and not cooperate with the feds on background checks and just sell the guy a gun. How's that different than San Francisco?
Well, there's 2 issues. Well, there's 2 issues. One, it is a private company. Okay, and it is a criminal offense not to submit the name. In the case of San Francisco, there is no such thing as a sanctuary city. They don't exist. It's a political phantom. Everybody's afraid of it, but nobody can see it. What you're talking about is if the Immigration Customs Enforcement Agency wants the jail to hold someone for whatever reason, they send a piece of paper, and the cities are wanting to know who's going to pay for the incarceration costs for all these folks that supposedly they could pick up anytime they want.
All right, let's get Steve in here. What do you think about that argument?
I have to get in here because you are lying. That is not the truth. What happened in San Francisco in this case specifically in this case specifically with Kate Steinle, okay, her killer, this wasn't just bad luck. This wasn't just an unfortunate circumstance. Her killer was detained weeks before, 5 times deported previously, arrested, detained by the San Francisco Police Department. ICE issued a detainer, which is the legal request to have custody of him, to deport him for the 6th time, which is absurd in and of itself. And the San Francisco Police Department, let me talk, and the San Francisco Police Department, because of the awful liberal policy of that city to protect illegal immigrants over the rights of legal U.S. citizens, decided to ignore the ICE detainer. He was released into San Francisco. Weeks later, he killed a beautiful young American in cold blood who died in her father's arms.
Yeah, I mean, San Francisco city officials have blood on their hands, Francisco.
This is the tragedy of liberal politics over common sense and common decency, quite frankly.
Immigration could have picked him up in L.A. County before they took him to San Francisco. ICE could have taken him the first day he stepped foot in San Francisco. The federal government does not need the cooperation of a city, of a state, or a county.
How does the federal government know when a 5 times deported... Hold on, Steve.
Because they give him the fingerprint fingerprints. They get the fingerprints from the federal government. They already know they're there. Go pick them up. Why do you need an immigration hold? Take them away. We do it every day.
If someone's roaming around the city of San Francisco, the feds have no idea he's there until he gets picked up.
If he gets booked
what
into
do they
the
have,
jail,
ESP?
they run his fingerprints.
Yeah, right. So he gets picked up. They run the fingerprints, and then the city of San Francisco's responsibility is to then report that to ICE. And if ICE says, yeah, hold them, and they don't hold them, they have blood on their hands.
No, it's not. They have to hold them for 48 hours. If the ICE does not pick them up after the 48 hours from the immigration hold, they don't have a legal reason to hold somebody. But then again, let's remember this guy.
Yeah, they have a legal reason to hold somebody because the feds say hold them.
Jesse, I think before we get mired,
let's let Steve get in. Go ahead, Steve.
Before we get mired too much in the exact details of this case, and I think, by the way, they completely argue against sanctuary cities, but before we get mired too much in the details here, in the minutia of this specific case, the principle is what's more important. And I think cities like Chicago, where I am, like San Francisco, these cities have willfully, and I'm glad you mentioned Alabama, Jesse, because they remind me a lot of George Wallace in the 1960s. What these local mayors and some of the governors are doing is saying to the federal government, we don't want to obey your laws for our own narrow political interests, for our own politically correct agenda. And so we're going to just choose to ignore your laws, just as the Southern governors chose to ignore civil rights laws. Well, guess what? Federal law is paramount, particularly when it comes to immigration, and the safety of the citizens of the United States, of Chicago, of San Francisco, of cities all over this country, their safety is being jeopardized because of a narrow, politically correct, liberal political agenda. And by the way, talk to cops on the beat, as I do here in Chicago. They want to cooperate with ICE. Of course they do. They want to help federal law enforcement.
Francisco, 30 seconds. We'll give you the last word. Go ahead.
Guys, there is no way that any city, state, county can oppose the federal government. Okay, guys, if we want to fix this, let's get on with fixing immigration. Let's get on with the important thing about this country. But if we got to talk about these holds are good for 48 hours. They do not have authority to hold them after 48 hours. That's all they're saying is we're following the hold 48-hour rule that immigration put in place. Now, guys, let's move on to immigration reform and stop talking about this.
Well, let's move on and build the wall. Then he wouldn't have come back across the border 5 times. Guys, got to run.
Amen.